Do you believe that your emotions are an emergency? Do you believe that there's something you have to do about them? Well, I'm sorry to let you know, but there's nothing you can do about your emotions because they are hormones that have been released and are now running around in your body, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. So, knowing that, what this workshop is going to be about is how you can actually take a step back, notice your emotions, and then decide what you want or how you want to react to it. Because there's a saying that goes something like, don't make any permanent decisions based on a temporary emotion. So, in case we don't know each other, my name is Katrina Horn and I'm a life coach. And emotions are a big part of what I help my clients with. So, if you're here live, welcome. Welcome, Nina. So good to see you here. If you're watching the replay, welcome. You can always comment either in the chat here live or on YouTube if you're watching the replay below in the comment box, or you can write me an email. This is part of a 5-workshop series, all based on helping you connect more often to your higher self. And I believe that that higher self is really where we want to be most of the time, because when we are always living in this problem-focused, ego-based mind, well, we notice more of the problems than the solutions. So in case you haven't seen last week's workshop, which was more about self-care, please go ahead and watch that one on YouTube. You can go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That way you'll always know when I post a new video or when I have a workshop like this. So let's dive in. Your emotions are not an emergency, but why is it that we believe that they are an emergency? It's because, well, think about babies. Like when you're a baby, you're upset, right? You might be hungry or you might be feeling something, you might be frightened. So you'd start crying. And everybody around you, like your mum and dad and the adults around you, would treat it as if this is a big emergency. And so you as a baby, you would just normally and naturally adopt that viewpoint that having an emotion that makes you cry or feel upset is an emergency because the adults would be scampering about. Now, that was perhaps your impression, and that might have been the impression that was confirmed through life. Like maybe you grew up around very reactive people who were always sort of in the mind drama, in the drama of life, feeling the emotions intensely. And what I would like to say is, I think it's gorgeous to be able to feel our emotions intensely. I love that. I think it's gorgeous that we are sensitive. I don't think we want to be sort of in the grip of our emotions and make those decisions based on how we feel in the moment. So really what life coaching is about is being able to observe how you function so that you can come in and change what is not serving you. So I came up for my clients with this 5-step process, how they can sort of take control, not over their feelings. Like we can't stop ourselves from feeling, and I don't think we should, because feelings are just, or emotions, feelings, to me, it's a bit the same thing. They're really just information. And if we could treat them as such, we would have so much more growth opportunity, and not be sort of frightened of the negative emotions. Like even negative emotion is here to support us. I believe that negative emotion is a growth point. And when we choose to grow instead of retreating into fear, like that is actually a growth opportunity for us. So welcome to people who are joining. I am recording this session, so just so that you know, you won't be on the recording unless you speak. So please stay on mute in case you don't, or if you don't want to be on the recording. Let me take you through an example so that maybe you can either identify or you can see how this applies to your life. The autopilot response, like the one where we are reacting to our feelings and we're sort of shaping our life because of the feelings we're having. You could be reacting to this. Your colleague says, you didn't finish the report on time. And I'm sure many of us can recognize this, of we feel the reproach of it. You didn't finish the report on time. And just notice also that this can be purely factual. There could be a deadline and maybe you didn't meet it. So we can have different reactions to it. We can think, I'm wrong. And then our mind can immediately go into the thought, I'm incompetent. Or this person thinks I'm incompetent. Now I look incompetent. And you can apologize immediately and go into the over-explaining, or you can shrink yourself, right? And I think we can all agree that these are not ideal responses to a fact. So we can go into believing that our colleague is accusing us of something. And in this case, if you didn't hand in the report on time, well, they would be right. Another variation on the I'm wrong is they're wrong. So they're being unreasonable. I mean, how dare they accuse me? And then you start feeling defensive and you can go into justification. And we are going into all of this later. Or another variation is something's wrong here. So in all of these examples, it's about being wrong. There's something wrong. And you could be telling yourself, this always happens with me. And you spiral into anxiety and that criticism that you might have running in your mind. And all of it mean something, to make themselves wrong. Other people have got a tendency to make other people wrong. And then there's a variation of just knowing that, oh, this is completely wrong. And there might not be anything wrong about it if you can just notice. There's a factual thing, the report wasn't finished on time. So what are you making it mean? So this is where I'd love for you to pause. I've got an emotion, I feel attacked, I feel somebody's blaming me, I don't feel good, like I've got a negative emotion. And then your mind immediately goes spinning into something negative, like we analyze it into a meaning. Be as simple as this person doesn't support me, this person doesn't like me, this person is angry with me. It could be a little bit more sophisticated, like, oh, I didn't finish the report on time, but how could I? Because I've got far too much work. I couldn't possibly finish it on time. Or it could be, I really don't like this job and they're using me for something that I shouldn't be doing, you know. You could go into all the wrongness. And then you could say something that you might regret. But that is really beside the point. What I want you to notice is, how is this making you feel? You didn't hand in the report on time. What is the feeling you're having? Because I'm wrong is a thought. What is the feeling you're having? And if we could just pause at this moment and feel into our real feeling. I'm feeling disappointed perhaps with myself. I'm feeling nervous that I'm being accused. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling threatened. Like, what is the feeling? And if we can just stop long enough to notice, then we've sort of taken ourselves out of the reaction, right? We've got time to reflect. So if you stay with the feeling you're having, like I'd call this emotional literacy. being able to identify the feelings we've got and not be afraid of them. Because really, we have been designed to be able to feel all of our feelings. So there is no feeling that will break us. It can be extremely uncomfortable. I'm not saying the opposite or the contrary. I'm just saying that we are actually designed to be able to feel them. And if we could stop making it mean something and actually just feel the feeling, well, then we'd be good. So what I help my clients do is to process that feeling. So instead of going into reaction, just stay with the feeling and feel it in the body. So this is, of course, not possible if somebody's coming into your office and telling you didn't hand in the report on time. You can't say, one moment, let me process my feelings here, right? That is not realistic. But you can come back to the situation at some other point in time, and you can process that feeling. You can come back, re-memorize the situation, and feel the feeling. And if you can allow yourself to feel the feeling without having anything immediately like you have to take care of, at a quiet moment, you don't need a lot of time, feel the feeling in your body and be present with it. So I take my clients through a process where they sort of describe the feeling where it is, locate it, describe it so that they are present with it. And ideally, you'd be present with it for up to 2 minutes, because that's how long it takes for your hormones to run their course and disappear. So if you can stay with a feeling, like normally we say 1.5 minutes, but just to make sure, if you can stay with it just for a few minutes and feel it intensely and let it disappear, then you've processed an emotion. And the reason why you want to process it, the reason why you don't want to stuff it down or deny or avoid it, is that once you normalize this feeling, even if it's anger, even if it's sadness, even if it's disappointment, the reason you want to normalize it is so that your nervous system doesn't overreact to it. So that your nervous system is okay with feeling resentment, disappointment, sadness, anger, frustration, whatever. If your nervous system doesn't think it's an emergency, well, then you're really free to sit there and feel whatever feeling is coming up for you when a colleague comes in and tells you you didn't hand in your report on time. So imagine if you didn't have your sort of emotional body on high alert through multiple situations throughout the day where you weren't sort of playing ping pong with a lot of emotion, that where it was just be, okay, I'm noticing that I'm feeling angry, just noticing it, and if possible, in the moment, let me be with it. If it's not possible, let me save it for later. Well, then you don't have to be sort of reacting to it and doing those things you might end up regretting. So just notice for the moment that there is a feeling that you can name, that you can process it, and then you can look at what you make it mean. So we had a few examples of what you can make it mean, but let's really dive into more of the thoughts and feelings behind it. Because you could have a completely different reaction to the same comment. You didn't finish the report on time. Now, you could be thinking, not necessarily saying it, I feel frustrated because I value being seen for my effort. And so you could be frustrated because you think, oh yeah, I didn't really hand it in on time. I didn't finish it, but I feel that I am making a lot of effort and I really want to be valued for that intention that momentarily didn't really happen here. Like my intention was to make the effort and get the thing done on time, but for various reasons, this didn't happen. Could also be feeling worried because deadlines matter to you and you don't want to let your colleagues or your work team down. So now you're feeling worried because you're thinking, oh my goodness, what are the repercussions for this? And now my team can't get on with that, and all of it. You could feel pressure because you want to maintain the good working relationships you have got at work. And so all of these feelings, because they're often more than just one, just notice that you are feeling them. And just notice that you're feeling them for a good reason, but that is because you're making it mean something. So frustration, being worried, or feeling the pressure could all be very, very real. But before you go into all the consequences, just notice that you're making it mean something. So what I really want you to start thinking about is, what if I could create so much, what's the opposite of tension? So much of space around whatever I'm feeling, not to immediately go into a reaction and a meaning, a negative meaning that I put on whatever I'm feeling and whatever people are saying. What if I could take this information and then with my higher self, like with that mind that is more solution focused and I think a truer representation of who you really are, what if I could sort of have a conversation with that part of me and decide what I want to make it mean? So I can decide something like, yes, I didn't hand in this report on time. Maybe it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. Maybe it means something different. And so if you could not make it mean something that is permanent, but make it mean something that is temporary, that would be ideal. So if you could respond with honesty instead of being reactive, and I like to think about it as being vulnerable. Being vulnerable, but without people being able to take advantage of you. But if you could then respond with something much more honest that you've had time to reflect on from your higher self. Your higher self is looking down on you or up to you, or whatever you want to call it. It's looking at you and seeing only the best in you. And if you look at only the best in you, well, there could be reasons why you handed in this report on time. And so you could be reacting something like this. I understand the report was late, so there's no resistance to facts. You are admitting the truth. You could think something like, I had several competing priorities, and perhaps it would be a good idea to adjust my schedule to make sure that the next report is on time. Then you can think about, maybe we could discuss priorities with my manager so that I'd be able to fit everything in and manage my deadlines better. So you're sort of admitting that you were wrong. Do you see what I mean? Because you are admitting that, yes, the report wasn't done on time, but you're not going into justification or explanation. You're not going into reaction like, oh, I couldn't possibly have all these reports done on time because there's just far too many and I've got far too much responsibility and tasks to do. It's just not possible and blah, blah, blah. Right? You're recognizing it. And then you'll be noticing, well, what prevented me? What really prevented me from doing it on time? And if you're willing to look at yourself as being the agent in this, if you're willing to choose, maybe I can get help with that, or maybe I'm not managing my schedule, maybe I can get help with that, sort of taking responsibility for your own actions. Well, then you've got power here. And that's why in coaching, we talk about empowerment when we talk about responsibility. If you take responsibility for something, it means that you're empowered and you can act on it. So I'd just like to know, for people who are here, does that make sense? Feel free to use the chat. And can you recognize this situation from your own life? I mean, it could be a work situation, or the example I came up with the other day on the Insight Timer was about hubby being late back from work and you being upset about it, and all the recriminations and what you would make it mean. He doesn't love me, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't take me to be important, I'm not his priority, and all of that. Sort of immediately going into the meaning making of it instead of focusing on the emotion. And once you focus on the emotion, it's so much easier to be honest, but it also involves being a little bit vulnerable. So I don't really advocate being super vulnerable at work, depending on your work situation. But I think in your relationships, your intimate relationships, you always want to be honest. So I think it's good to talk with your partner about, well, when you come back home late, I make it mean that you don't really care about me, that I'm not important to you, that I'm not a priority in your life. And then have that discussion. But it's not being reactive from those emotions. Do you see the difference? Feel free to share in the chat if there's anything that this sort of triggers in you. I know that it's very difficult not to be in our emotion. And I think it's okay to be in it. Just think we don't want to react from it, really. So if you could train yourself to use my sort of 5-step process I'm going to share with you, or sort of recap with you, is when we respond with honesty instead of reactivity. Well, let me just look at the chat. Question: how would you process your thought quickly in order to avoid being so defensive? Yes, good question. And what I perhaps haven't stressed enough is that this is like going to the gym. It's like if you go to the gym tomorrow, you won't build like 20 kilos of muscle like that. You'll have to go back, right? You'll have to practice, practice, practice. So of course, in the moment, you might not be able to pinpoint either the feeling or the meaning you make it, or the meaning you ascribe, you give it. That might be just like, I don't know. So if you could just for the moment notice the feeling that you are feeling something. That's really it. Okay, I'm feeling something. And we never justify our feelings, because if we're feeling something, it's true. So we can't argue with our feelings. So there's no justification needed. It's the meaning we have to look at. So Nina, in your question, stop analyzing. A colleague is telling me I handed in the report late, or hubby is home late. I'm feeling upset. I am upset. Okay, I'm upset. Don't make it mean anything. That would be feeding the feeling. The more you start analyzing, the more you go into your brain instead of your body, the worse the situation gets. Feelings happen in the body. They are chemicals in your body. Your brain is picking up on them, interpreting them, but let it stop there. Just be with your body. Feel them in your body. So, of course, if somebody is accusing you of something that is not true, well, then you want to perhaps put them to right. Like you want to tell them, oh, I don't agree. But really, if you know that the report was late, I mean, just admit it. Yeah, it was late. I don't know what else to say right now. So I will just stop. I will pause. I will not feed into the idea that this situation needs an immediate reaction from me. It can take time. So in work situations, before you really get the wherewithal to react adequately, I would just pause. And if you could allow it not to be perfect for a while till you train yourself, if you can just allow it to be so imperfect that some of the opportunities here you will miss and others you will come back to. So maybe the next day you can come in and say, I know the report was late, but here's what I came up with. Right? It was late because I might not be managing my priorities correctly. Could you help me? Or I need help with scheduling. Or maybe my workload is too much. Or have you got any hacks? Or, start a conversation about it. So, of course, all of this, you can't immediately go from being reactive to being super zen about it. Like, it's a journey, as with anything. So when you've got a moment, really process it in your body, because your response will diminish the more you normalize all your feelings in your body. And by normalizing in your body, I mean that you make them palatable to your nervous system, like to your brain. Your brain won't go into high alert when you have a feeling. It will just think, oh, I'm having a feeling. I'm having an emotion. And not make it mean so much. So when your emotion is out of your system, and there are many ways to do that, I recommend, well, if it's sort of persistent, like something that keeps coming up, I would journal about it. I would meditate on it. I would go for a walk with it. Moving your body is a great way to get all the emotion out. So once it's gone, then look at it with your intellect and say, oh, what can this mean? Because remember at the beginning I said emotion is information. So if you feel threatened by a colleague who points out a mistake you made, well, then that's a growth opportunity for you, because, oh, I'm feeling threatened here. Why is that? Why is that? And that takes you into such a deeper place where you've got an opportunity to look at what's really going on behind the emotion. Why am I feeling threatened by that? And then you can deep journal about that, or you can meditate on it. Like I like to connect to that higher self. We are in the higher self series. So when you're connected to your higher self, you've got so much more insight. And once you recognize the why behind it, once you know how you react and why it's all happening and what you're making it mean, and you grow through it, meaning that you leave all that behind, that this is no longer who you are, well, then you've grown out of it, if you see what I mean. And I think that's really what we do in life, isn't it? We build up a lot of problems in our lives, and then we spend the rest of our lives working them out. So when you're on the other side of this feeling, this emotion, the reasons why, what you're making it mean, and what you need to heal. Why are you making it mean this? What's that about? What have you got to heal here? What is your opportunity? Well, then that gets really, really good, because all the conflicts you have are just opportunities for you to heal, really. All those disagreeable feelings you've got are opportunities for you to heal. So I would invite you, as a fifth step in my process, to have that conversation from your higher self. Whatever it brought up, have that honest, vulnerable conversation with other people if they brought on the emotion, with yourself first of all. Well, what is this about, and how can I communicate that? How can I be honestly talking about my emotions? How is that possible? So somebody says, I and my sisters are now processing emotions, including guilt for sending our father to hospital and planning moving him to nursing home. Yes. Yeah, I know. I was in the same position. What are you telling now resonates with our feelings, emotions, and might help us finding a way to respond differently. Yes, and not to blame yourself. Yes, for not taking care of your father yourself. Yes, yes, yes. Please, please, please process that guilt. And I would say, could it be okay to feel that guilt a little bit? I know I did exactly the same with my sister. Our dad was no longer with us in his mind. We eventually had to move him to a nursing home. And there was some guilt. There really was. So what other emotions are there and what are you making them mean? So with the guilt coming up, are you making it mean? And I'm just suggesting, so please don't take this to be yours. But is that guilt suggesting that you should be taking care of your dad? Can that be true? And then with your intellect, challenge that. Why is it true? Why is it not true? And I find that the truth is always between black and white. It's always somewhere in the gray zone. You cannot say daughters should always take care of their dads, and you can't say daughters should never take care of their dads. Right? There's everything in between. So could you start exploring the meaning you want to put on it? I'm feeling guilty because in my society, children are supposed to take care of their parents, even when they're no longer there with us. Take a look at what are the thoughts really that provoke that feeling of guilt. And then look at all the thoughts. And next week, we'll be talking about thoughts and how to change them. So this is an excellent segue into next week. So thank you for proposing it. I'm not saying your name out loud on purpose, as you wrote in the private chat. So this is an excellent opportunity really to question whatever thoughts are bringing on the guilt. Maybe there's sadness, maybe there's disappointment, maybe there's a lot of other things. So really explore that if you can. Take your time. And if you've got sisters, well, talk to them about it. If you've got that kind of relationship where you can talk openly and honestly about how you feel, and say something like, I feel so sad about dad. And I feel as if I'm not taking full responsibility if I'm not taking care of him myself. Talk about it if you can, if that's possible in your relationship. I would definitely do that. So with my sister, I think my sister felt even more guilty than me. And it was just a question. I mean, the thought she settled on was it's no longer safe for him not to be under supervision. So that was how she came to sort of okayness with sending him off to a nursing home. And let me not kid anybody here. A nursing home is not always ideal, is it? I mean, we can send our loved ones to the best nursing homes. And it is an institution, isn't it? And they are not under full-time supervision and care, are they? So, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so good to know. So good to know. Yeah, so my advice would always be gentle on yourself. And if you could refrain from making yourself wrong, that is another thing I work with all my clients on, how we make ourselves wrong. What if we couldn't be wrong? I think like this negative emotion that we sometimes feel is another opportunity for us to argue with it and to say, yes, I know that you feel guilty, but actually, what if the opposite is true? What if this is the most caring thing you could do? So exploring all of that and talking with a human about it is, I think, always the best option. So have we got any other questions for the people who are here live? That would be wonderful, a good opportunity to to talk about it and perhaps give other people some inspiration. If you're on the replay, feel free to write to me either in the comments below or on email. If you're here live, I'm just sharing my scheduling link where you can actually book what I call a life audit session, which is really where we look into where you're at right now and where it is you want to be in life, and then bridge the gap between the two so that you can start moving in that direction. It's also an opportunity for me to offer to help you if I think I can be helpful in that journey. So it's a free session. Feel free to go ahead and book one for yourself. If you're not in my time zone, you might have to scroll around to find a time that suits you, but your computer or phone will understand what time zone you are in. So all the times are in your time zone. Let me just show you what it could look like. So go ahead and schedule a session here. Your computer will know where you are at. So these are actually in your time zone, all the times you see here. So you might have to scroll around a little bit to find a time that suits you. But I would love to meet up with you, whether I can be useful to you or not. I think already coming to a life audit session is super helpful because you create so much clarity, and that is always valuable. If I can help you, I will suggest so, and you are free to take me up on it or not. So I enjoyed talking to you immensely. I hope to see you next week where we'll be going into our thoughts and how we can manage our minds. I'm looking forward to that. Same time, same day. I hope to see you there. Bye for now.